Welcome to another Theology Thursday. We're glad you tuned in. You may have heard someone say this. I've certainly said it plenty of times. This is a really important verse. This is a really important passage. The reality is, if you go and you look for commentaries on Habakkuk, you're not going to find nearly as many as you find on Psalms. This is the way that it is. We have a tendency to prefer some passages over others and to see them as more important than others. So I've really struggled over the years with what the right terminology is for this, because that's true and not true all at the same time. So here's what I mean by that. All of Scripture is inspired. Paul makes this very clear when he tells Timothy all Scripture is inspired by God, and all of it's profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of God might be mature, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. All the Bible's authoritative. But the reality is, not all passages have the same impact on us. I don't think most people reading First Chronicles and 9 chapters of genealogies find that quite as impactful as reading Psalm 23. So some passages, some people said, the whole gospel is contained in one verse, John 3:16. So we realize that some passages pack more of a punch. We also realize that some passages are more significant because of what happens historically, or because of the theological implications of that particular text. So here is kind of the way that I have come to understand it, just in my own life, as I look at this and think about this. So there are kind of different areas of Scripture when we look at them. Some are really important because they give us the history, and our faith is based on history. We don't base our faith on some just cool statements and all. We base it on historical fact, that there was a man named Jesus, born of a virgin, lived a sinless life in history, in an actual place, and that he died on a cross historically, and that he was buried and rose again historically. Like, you ask me why I'm saved is because of something that happened in history. So the history is important. We see God working in history, and we know that he will continue to work until he brings history to its close and culmination. So we have those that are very historical. We have some that are very theologically oriented. Some of Paul's letters are very heavy with theology, Romans and Galatians in particular. Then we have some passages that are practice, lifestyle oriented. The Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus says, you've heard said, but I say, here's how we should live. Here's how we should pray. Here's how we should treat one another. The 10 Commandments, that you'll have no other gods before you, and you won't take the name of the Lord your God in vain. You won't have any idols. Now, that's out of order, but anyway. So that's like those kind of things. And then we have some passages that are just very impactful to us personally. Maybe because of something that was going on in our life, and that verse just really resonated with us. Oftentimes these are difficult times. I'm an Old Testament professor. In addition to being the pastor here at First Baptist Chandler, I teach at Gateway Seminary here in the Phoenix area. And when I teach online, which I teach a lot of online classes, in my Old Testament introduction class, when I cover Psalms for a couple of weeks online, they always have a discussion question each week. And one of the discussion questions is, select a favorite Psalm and tell why. And I would say probably 80% of the respondents are because of some crisis moment in life, or a very dark time. They lost their mom unexpectedly, lost a child, found out they had cancer. Husband and wife both lost their employment, and they lost their house, and they were struggling tremendously financially. Whatever it may be, they were bullied or whatever it is. It's always something pretty heavy, and there's always some psalm that they just kind of saw them through that difficult time. So we have psalm passages that are just very impactful like that. So this is kind of the way, as I look at all that, I go, okay, different passages have different ways of being important and significant and what have you. But when we talk about important passages or significant passages, the way I understand it's like organs in the body. I kind of need all my organs, but some of them are more impactful. I mean, my heart's about the most important organ I got. And it can't take a rest. Like, it's pretty significant. Yeah, other organs can rest for a while. My kidneys aren't just like functioning nonstop 24/7. They kind of rest, and bladder kicks in, and so on. This might not be the best of analogies, but some organs are more important than others, but I need them all. We need all the Scripture, but some of them are more significant because of their historical significance, or because of their theological, or because of their behavior and practical, ethical, moral, whatever word you want to use. And then some are just personal. So I did this. You can take a screenshot because it's mine, so it's not copyrighted. I give this to my students, and these are just significant passages in the Old Testament. Why they're significant? Obviously, the creation account, the fall into sin, the call of Abraham in Genesis 12. Many of these are historical, like the call of David, the covenant with David in 2 Samuel 7. Some of them because they're messianic significant. Psalm 110 is just full with messianic statements quoted numerous times in the New Testament. And so there are some that are more significant. So when you hear a pastor or a theologian or someone say, this is a significant passage, that doesn't mean that somehow it's more inspired or more authoritative, or like somehow we take it, it's going to disagree with others, we'll take it over the others, because all the Bible's in harmony with itself. But it just means that for one of these kind of reasons, it does carry a lot of weight and impact, and oftentimes then helps us to set those lesser passages into context so that the lesser passages take on more meaning and significance. So I just want to talk a minute about that, because I didn't want there to be any confusion when someone says this is a very significant passage that's more inspired, or it's not more important. It just has a more direct bearing on some of these different areas. And so, because it's just very clear and direct on those. So I just thought I'd take a few minutes and share that with you this week. So your homework for next week is to take this list and memorize it. Kidding. So God bless you, and I hope you have a great day.